If you ask any archaeologist about their job, they'll probably tell you that sooner or later they're going to come across something they simply can't explain. Naturally, that's no big deal, because when archaeologists can't figure out what they've found, they turn to scientists for answers. But sometimes even the scientists don't have an answer either. The people who came long before us left behind things that still refuse to fit our understanding of the past. From the dark, rocky labyrinths of Cornwall to the mysterious Roman book, these are the 15 most unexplained ancient finds that no one can explain. But before we start, if you're new here, make sure to subscribe. Alright, now let's get started. Number 15. The great Martian god the Sahara was not always lifeless as it is today. About 6,000 years ago, it looked more like a giant grassland than a desert. Rivers crossed it, lakes covered huge areas, and people lived there long before the sand took over. They left thousands of paintings behind on the cliffs of Tassili Najer in Algeria, more than 15,000 in total. Most are exactly what you'd expect. Cattle, hunters, wild animals, families, scenes from everyday life painted with surprising attention to detail. Then you notice something that doesn't belong. Towering above many of the other figures is a strange round-headed being nearly 6 meters tall. French explorer Henri Lot found it during his expeditions in the 1950s and, unable to compare it with anything he knew, nicknamed it the Great Martian God. It has enormous eyes, a perfectly rounded head, and what appears to be a single-piece covering wrapped around its body. Similar figures appear across the plateau, painted over many centuries by different artists. Archaeologists usually describe them as shamans or spiritual beings. That may be true. But if these artists painted people and animals so realistically, why did they choose to portray these figures in a completely different way? Number 14. Track Rock Gap Petroglyphs. If you ever wanted proof that history can disappear in just one night, this is it. In Georgia's Chattahoochee National Forest, there was once a mind-blowing collection of Native American rock carvings that had survived for around 1,000 years. Created by the Cherokee and Creek people, more than 100 petroglyphs covered the stone at Track Rock Gap, making it one of the most important ancient rock art sites in the southeastern United States. Then, in April 2021, somebody deliberately vandalized them. Some carvings were scratched beyond recognition, while others were covered in paint, destroying details that had survived centuries of weather, wars, and changing civilizations. Experts believe at least part of the damage can be repaired, but nobody knows exactly how much of the original artwork has been lost forever. These carvings weren't just decorations. They were messages left behind by people whose stories are already difficult to piece together. Now, some of those stories may never be read again, and nobody can explain why anyone would willingly erase a piece of humanity's past. Number 13. The Sibylline books. This is one of those books historians wish they could read just once. Not because it promised treasure or lost knowledge, but because an entire civilization trusted it with its future. According to Roman tradition, an elderly woman arrived before King Tarquinius Superbus carrying 9 mysterious books. She claimed they contained the destiny of Rome and asked a great price for them. The king laughed and refused. Without arguing, she threw 3 books into a fire. Then she offered the remaining 6 for exactly the same price. He refused again, and 3 more disappeared into the flames. Only when just 3 books remained did the king finally pay. The woman accepted the money, handed over the surviving volumes, and vanished from history forever. Romans believed she was the Cumaean Sibyl, Apollo's legendary prophetess. Those 3 books were guarded inside the Temple of Jupiter and consulted only during Rome's darkest crises. But here's the question that still refuses to go away. If the final 3 books were considered priceless, What could possibly have been written inside the 6 that she chose to destroy forever? Number 12. The Rocky Valley Labyrinths of Cornwall Well. You don't always need a grand monument to create an enduring mystery. Sometimes a few carefully carved lines in solid rock are enough. Just over a mile from Tintagel Castle in Cornwall, a place forever linked with the legends of King Arthur, lie 2 strange labyrinths cut into the stone beside Rocky Valley. They weren't discovered until 1948, when someone happened to spot them from an aircraft flying overhead. Since then, archaeologists have argued over almost every detail surrounding them. Many believe the carvings date to the Bronze Age, while others think they could be considerably older. Their purpose remains just as uncertain. Some researchers see connections with ancient Celtic traditions and fertility rituals, whereas modern pagans continue visiting the site for ceremonies of their own. There has even been a suggestion that millworkers carved the designs as a joke during the 18th century, although the amount of labor involved makes that explanation difficult to accept. Whatever the actual truth may be, these quiet ancient carvings continue to puzzle everyone who studies them. Number 11. The Witch of Pompeii has revealed everything from bakeries and bedrooms to perfectly preserved meals. Yet one small discovery has inspired more imagination than almost anything else recovered from the buried city. While excavating a wealthy home in 2019, archaeologists found the remains of a small wooden box. The wood had long since decayed, but its bronze fittings still marked the place where it had rested for nearly 2,000 years. Inside was a collection unlike any ordinary jewelry box. Crystals, tiny figurines, mirrors, beads, miniature skulls, and other unusual objects were packed together with surprising care. Archaeologists think the box belonged to a servant rather than the wealthy owners of the house. In Roman society, magic, charms, and rituals were accepted parts of everyday life, leading many experts to wonder whether its owner practiced some form of sorcery or fortune-telling. Of course, nobody can prove that. The box may have held protective charms rather than magical tools. So, what was its real purpose? Number 10. The ancient tombs of Shandong province. Every archaeologist hopes to find a lost burial ground, but very few discoveries arrive on the scale of this one. During excavations in China's Shandong province in 2021, archaeologists found a huge cemetery containing 165 ancient tombs. Most belong to the Han Dynasty and are about 2,000 years old, while 9 are even older, dating back about 2,500 years to the Eastern Zhou period. Many of the graves are simple earth burials with brick coffins, but others include passageways, arranged pottery figures, and beautifully crafted ceramic vessels decorated with unusual patterns that experts still struggle to interpret. Whether those designs carried religious meaning, represented family symbols, or were artistic decoration is still uncertain. Since the cemetery was only recently discovered, archaeologists believe it could still be hiding countless answers beneath the ground. Every new tomb seems to raise another disturbing question. Number 9. The Books of Numa. It was one ordinary day in 181 BC, when a farmer working the fields on Rome's Janiculum Hill felt his plow strike something buried deep beneath the earth. Curious, he dug down nearly 12 feet and discovered 2 ancient stone chests. One contained bones believed to belong to Numa Pompilius, Rome's legendary second king. The other held an even greater surprise: 14 books, still perfectly preserved after more than 5 centuries. Wrapped in waxed cloth and protected inside citrus wood boxes, they had survived the passing of time almost untouched. 7 books were written in Latin and dealt with sacred law, while the remaining 7, written in Greek, discussed Pythagorean philosophy. The Roman praetor, Quintus Petilius Spurinus, examined them before placing them before the Senate. Their verdict was immediate. Every book was ordered to be burned in public. Livy records the event as a real political decision, explaining that the writings threatened Rome's religion itself. That decision still raises a question. If these writings truly came from the king credited with establishing Rome's religious traditions, what could they possibly have contained that frightened Rome's leaders enough to destroy them? Number 8. Roman-era gallery beneath Topkapi Palace. People usually expect old buildings to hide a few surprises, but this discovery surprised even the experienced archaeologists. While landscaping work was taking place beneath Istanbul's Topkapi Palace in 2021, workers found a previously unknown Roman-era gallery buried beneath the palace grounds. The find came as a complete surprise, although the area had already produced the remains of a Byzantine cistern years earlier, leading some historians to wonder whether the two structures were once connected. The timing makes the discovery even more intriguing. Topkapi Palace was built in 1459, only a few years after Constantinople fell to the Ottoman Empire. Was the palace deliberately built above important Roman structures as a symbol that one empire had replaced another? Nobody knows. Archaeologists are still studying the underground gallery, and before anyone is allowed inside, they must first determine whether it remains structurally safe. For now, this forgotten passage simply adds another unanswered chapter to the long and complicated history buried beneath one of the world's most famous cities. Number 7. The strange painted skull of Vienna. Human skulls occasionally find their way into museums, universities, and medical collections. Finding one decorated with colorful flowers and mysterious writing is another matter entirely. That's exactly what happened in Vienna in 2016 when a painted skull appeared under circumstances that still don't make complete sense. It was reportedly discovered in a meadow by an employee from the nearby Wilhelminen hospital, although even that story has been questioned. At first, some believed it was simply an unusual decoration. Closer examination proved otherwise. The skull belonged to a real person, most likely an elderly man who had died naturally. Then the contradictions began. Painted across the bone were flowers, the words Göbekli Tepe 1612, meaning beheaded 1612, and the name Amélie L'Orange. Yet scientific testing showed the skull is less than 100 years old, and no historical record links that name to any execution in Austria. Some suspect someone removed it from the hospital before transforming it into an elaborate hoax. Others think there's another story no one has managed to uncover. Either way, the skull continues to ask questions that its owner never can. Number 6. Mons Smaragdus Emerald Making Center. People have treasured emeralds for thousands of years, but every precious gemstone has to begin somewhere. In 2021, archaeologists working in Egypt's eastern desert uncovered 3 ancient buildings that once formed part of an emerald production center in the historic region known as Mons Smaragdus. The Romans controlled this remote desert territory, and another nearby emerald mine had already been identified during the 19th century. Even so, this find adds an important new piece to the story. Inside one of the buildings, archaeologists found 19 coins, allowing them to date the complex to around the 4th century AD and showing that it remained active for 100 years. The biggest surprise, though, came from the largest building itself. Beneath it appears to be an even older chamber, suggesting that emerald mining here may have started long before the Romans ever arrived. If that's true, the history of one of the ancient world's most valuable gems could stretch back much further than historians currently believe. Number 5. Etruscan silver wrapped hands. Wood rarely survives for thousands of years, which makes this discovery all the more remarkable. During excavations at the Etruscan necropolis of Volci in Italy, archaeologists uncovered a burial dating back roughly 2,700 years that contained something almost nobody expected: a pair of beautifully carved wooden hands wrapped in thin sheets of silver. The craftsmanship is astonishing. Even the fingernails were carefully carved into the wood before the silver covering was added. The tomb also contained brooches, painted beads, and an Egyptian-style scarab, suggesting the people buried here were connected to trade routes stretching far beyond Italy. Researchers believe the hands once belonged to a funerary figure placed beside the deceased before cremation. Strangely, while the rest of the figure disappeared in the fire, these hands were removed beforehand and preserved separately. That decision seems deliberate, but the reason remains uncertain. Did they symbolize power, craftsmanship, religious authority, or something entirely different? Well, now let's move to number 4. Roman villa at Scarborough. Roman villas are nothing unusual in Britain. After all, the Romans occupied much of the island for centuries, and traces of their settlements continue to appear every year. Even so, this find near Scarborough has left archaeologists scratching their heads. The villa only came to light because developers planned to build new homes on the site, prompting an archaeological survey before construction began. What emerged wasn't an ordinary Roman residence. At its center sits a large circular room unlike anything recorded in Britain, with the remaining rooms spreading outward from it in an unusual layout. The villa also included a bathhouse and appears to have belonged to a wealthy family, perhaps the Roman equivalent of a country estate. The real mystery lies in that circular design. Was it built for ceremonies, social gatherings, or some purpose that has been forgotten? So far, no one can answer that question. Archaeologists are still comparing it with Roman sites across Europe, but nothing quite matches it. It's still a puzzle. Number 3. Roos Carr figures. Well, humans have carved figures from wood for thousands of years, but very few look quite as scary as the Roos Carr figures. Dating to roughly 600 BC, these remarkable carvings were made from yew wood and are among the strangest artifacts ever recovered from prehistoric Britain. Their quartzite eyes immediately draw attention, but that's only the beginning. Each figure was carved with oversized, removable genitalia, a feature that has puzzled archaeologists ever since they were discovered. Radiocarbon dating places them at about 2,600 years old, yet their purpose remains completely unknown. They were recovered from a layer of blue clay, showing the area was once marshland or shallow water. That detail matters because ancient Britons often placed ritual offerings in lakes, rivers, and wetlands, leading many researchers to believe the figures may have been part of a ceremonial practice. Even so, no one can prove that theory. Considering how delicate these carvings are, it's amazing they survived at all. Whatever they represented, the people who made them believed they were important. Now, let's move to number 2. Thracian tomb at Sveshtari. Gold has always been a symbol of wealth, but sometimes it also tells stories that history forgot to write down. When archaeologists opened a Thracian tomb near the Bulgarian village of Sveshtari, they found themselves staring at an astonishing collection of treasures that had remained untouched for roughly 2,400 years. Fine gold jewelry, bracelets, rings decorated with human faces, delicate animal figurines, horse ornaments, and an elaborate gold diadem surrounded the person buried inside. Whoever this individual was, they clearly occupied an extraordinary position in Thracian society. Archaeologists suspect the grave belonged to a king or powerful noble, although no inscription survives to confirm the identity. The craftsmanship alone continues to surprise experts. Every object displays a level of detail that would challenge even skilled modern goldsmiths. Yet the greatest mystery isn't the treasure itself, it's the civilization that created it. The Thracians once dominated large parts of southeastern Europe before gradually disappearing into history. leaving behind magnificent tombs but very few answers about who they truly were or how such remarkable artistry became almost completely forgotten. Number 1. Lamborghini of chariots. Owning a luxury car has always been a way of showing status. About 2,000 years ago, wealthy Romans did exactly the same thing, although their version looked very different. During excavations at a villa just outside Pompeii, archaeologists found one of the finest ceremonial chariots ever found from the ancient world. Preserved beneath volcanic ash since Mount Vesuvius erupted in 79 C. The vehicle was unlike the ordinary carts used for transporting goods or people. It stood on 4 iron wheels and was decorated with finely crafted bronze and tin ornaments, while beautifully detailed panels portrayed Cupid and other symbolic figures. The seat was wide enough for 2 passengers and appears to have been carefully cushioned, suggesting comfort mattered just as much as appearance. Archaeologists believe the chariot was probably used during weddings, religious ceremonies, or important public celebrations rather than everyday travel. Its owner remains unknown, but whoever commissioned it clearly possessed considerable wealth. Well, if you've enjoyed watching this video, be sure to give it a like, share it, and subscribe. Thanks for staying with us, and we'll see you soon in the next one.